What have I accomplished over the year? There are three major categories that I'd like to discuss right now. Two have to do with the classroom situation and one for my personal research. The first is the LMS Piazza. Even understanding what an LMS was a bit of a challenge for me in the beginning. And when I decided one day to begin to put my class on a learning management system, I went in there and told the students we're in this together. We're learning and figuring it out together and to work with me through the process. And they really did. I've begun to put all of my handouts on Piazza. It's accessible for the students. I no longer have to worry if a student hasn't come to class, how are they going to get the materials. I've always had a system of the students journaling and emailing me the journals, to which I would always reply. And I realized that while I was able to hear their voices and hear their points, others were missing that opportunity. So one of the things that Piazza allowed me to do was to start a threaded conversation. I would post the initial question and people would answer. And part of the assignment was now to read other people's answers and to reflect and to comment. Some students even went back and reposted after reading what others had written, giving their feedback, showing their growth and their new understanding as a result. This especially came to a head when I offered one class the opportunity of a take-home midterm, and we used Piazza. There were 24 students in the class, which worked nicely with my vision of a jigsaw cooperative learning group. Out of the 24 students, I created 6 different groups, and in each group there were 4 students. There were also 4 categories of questions, so each student in the group had a different category. The categories matched up along the 6 groups, but had a slightly different twist to each one. So it enabled, if you had the same category, theoretically you could sit down and work on preparing the answer together, but eventually you had to submit your own work. Once the answer was posted on Piazza, the other members of the group had to read each other's questions and post what they had learned from the questions. This way they researched one question really well and got a taste of what the other questions entailed. The feedback I had from the students was overwhelming. First of all, they helped figure out the due dates when each thing would be done, and they really kept to the due dates, I think, because they were invested in it. Second of all, they really learned and appreciated the work that the others had done and found it a less stressful way of learning for the midterm, and that indeed they learned a lot more as a result than merely memorizing the material I had presented and spitting it back in one way or another. Another thing that I've been using a lot are Google Forms. My students do field work every week, and we would discuss the various school settings, the various classrooms that they had visited. Often, 1 or 2 students would dominate the conversation as much as I tried to put that into control, and conversely, some students barely spoke at all. I found that by using a Google form, by giving them the questions, by giving them a few minutes in the beginning of each class, they were able to fill out the form. I was able to read what they were posting right away and to ask questions and to comment on the spot and share what they were learning, what they were seeing with the rest of the class. Everybody had a voice. Everybody was able to gain from one another's encounters and experiences, and it was contained within a finite amount of time as opposed to stretching out and overtaking the class. The program that has been most helpful for me in terms of my own research was Mendeley. I remember I was very excited when I was reading about Mendeley that I was put into the group where that was one of the programs we were asked to look at, and I remember jumping at the opportunity to play with it a lot more. I don't think I can imagine my life right now without Mendeley. I have it on my laptop, I have it on my desktop at work, I have it on my iPad. I have some 300 articles that I've been using, both for my classrooms, for my students, but even more importantly right now, for my doctorate. So wherever I go, I have access to my documents, I'm able to highlight, I'm able to take notes. The taking notes, if I'm writing down a quote, I'm able to cut and paste into different documents. Everything is very organized. And let's not forget the idea of the bibliography. Once I've typed in the information and I click on whatever bibliographic organization I want, it's there, it's done. It is so easy to do. So that is definitely one thing that has made a difference. if there's one thing that I would redo, it was trying to create a synchronous webinar, synchronous learning. The motivation was all the days that it was snowing. My seniors are no longer on campus, so even though Stern would have class, it wasn't easy for them to come to one place to learn, so we experimented with an online forum. My problem was that what I had tried wasn't large enough for the classroom size, so some of the students who tried to log on after were unable to log on, so we tried doing a conference call in tandem. It was somewhat of a balagan. I give my students a lot of credit for sticking it out and trying as much as they can. Ironically, as soon as that was done, we had a webinar on producing webinars, which helped me see what I had done wrong in terms of planning and implementation, and I hope the next time I would do something like this, it would be a lot smoother. All in all, I have learned a lot over this year and am very satisfied with the results.